1. Everything is complicated until it isn't. Everything seems huge and confusing when you don't understand it, but everything also becomes trivial once you do understand it. When learning something new, we oftentimes don't even know what kind of questions to ask. We lack any context. We don't even understand what it is that we're learning. Over time, however, we recognize that there are like 2 or 3 key concepts, and once we understand those, everything becomes much more clearer and we get a much better overview. We read about the same concepts multiple times, and in no time, they're obvious to us. I remember what it felt like to try and understand backpropagation for the first time. I didn't even understand what I'm trying to understand. Is this a training step? Is this the same as gradient descent? What am I even trying to calculate here? I was completely confused. Nowadays, I just look at the formula, I look at backpropagation and think, okay, we're just applying the chain rule of calculus to see how the individual parameters, so the weights and biases, affect the loss so that we know in the next step where to go with each of these parameters. And of course, I also knew that textually, so I could also quote that before that, but now it just seems obvious. I have the intuition, I understand what it's about. Back then, I didn't even understand anything about it. And this will happen to you every single time you try to understand something that's new and complicated. My advice here would be try to keep it simple and ask fundamental questions. What are weights and biases? What is the loss? Why do we need to backpropagate the loss? What does it mean to backpropagate the loss? What is the chain rule of calculus? How does this all fit together? What am I even doing here? Answer these fundamental questions before you move on to more abstract stuff. However, also beware of perfectionism. Sometimes it's better to just get the gist of a concept and move on because things are going to get clearer as you move on. This is especially the case with more practical stuff. I think when it comes to math, it makes sense to go a little bit slower and try to understand all the details before you move on to more advanced concepts. But especially when learning new languages, new technologies, or new frameworks, it makes sense to just get the gist of it and start building, and over time you will understand what the best practices are. You will learn about all the nuances by working with it over time.